In our summer advisory reading book, When Breath Becomes Air, the author says, you can't ever reach perfection, but you can believe in an asymptote towards which you are ceaselessly striving.
Good morning. I'm Mrs. Urner-Berry. I'm a 1981 graduate of Westminster School, and I currently live in Gund House and teach math and chemistry. I arrived here on Williams Hill as a new 5th form day student in the fall of 1979. By my calculation, that means I'm a 43rd former this year. I've spent many years here, and as we say in the trade, worn many hats. I've worked in the dean's office with 4 different classes, lived on campus in 4 different apartments in one house, which includes 3 different corridors. I've been a teacher during the tenure of several students' parents, Liza Lennox, Izzy Bailey, Catherine Ash, Ellie Bailey, and Lizzie Cronin, among others. I am also old enough to have been schoolmates here at Westminster with other students' parents, including Becca Gavel, Isabel Niles, Ella Verano, cousins Charlotte Carroll, Lily Carroll, and Will Lynch, Walker and Nate Stevens, and Greta Baker. Because of these many associations, it is fun to see parents as they arrive back at Westminster to visit their children. However, I was most excited on the opening day of school this year with the arrival of the class of 2021 to campus. This is because we will be on the same reunion cycle, coming back to visit with classmates during years ending in 1 and 6. During May of their 6th form year, as the class of 2021 is looking forward to graduating, I will be celebrating my 40th Westminster reunion.
And I will be celebrating my 10th reunion.
I'll be there celebrating my 30th reunion.
You're having a senior moment. It is not your 100th reunion.
My 50th?
Yes, yes. 50th. That's why he's the senior master.
Ah, I feel much younger. Urged many times throughout your years here on the Hill to step outside your comfort zone. You're beginning now to start thinking about taking chances and opening yourself up to new experiences. I know that Westminster helped mold me into the person I am today, but recent events have really helped to crystallize the change Westminster made in my life. I'm going to make you endure a bit of my story regarding what led me here. My parents wanted me to look at independent schools in my 8th grade year. But it wasn't until I came to the realization in 10th grade that I wasn't getting much as I could from my public school that I seriously considered changing schools, and I was lucky to be admitted to Westminster. I enjoyed the academic part of this school. Instead of it being uncool to be smart, as it was in my public school, it was suddenly okay to be working to get the best grades I could. The real gift, though, was my introduction to athletics. Growing up, my parents did not participate in any sports, and this was just one reason that I didn't pursue athletics. The main reason, though, was that I struggled with asthma. Situations that brought on an attack included my many allergies to trees and animals, but also to exercise. During an asthma attack, my lungs just couldn't take being pushed to deliver more oxygen. I have vivid memories of missing a week of school every winter due to bronchitis. During any respiratory illness, it was extremely difficult to breathe. I remember being bedridden, lying as still as I could, focusing only on my breathing, but still not being able to fill my lungs. I had to fight the panic brought on by the suffocating feeling, and the panic made it harder to breathe, and it was a vicious cycle. Eventually, my mother had to learn how to give me shots of epinephrine, and the relief was incredible. As I grew older, I relied on inhalers and a daily pill to control the asthma attacks.
This meant that I didn't really get involved in sports involving any kind of aerobics during my middle school and early high school years. However, when I entered Westminster in 1979, I faced a 3-season sports requirement. As a student, I participated in field hockey, swimming, and track. Swimming took place in the old 4-lane, 20-yard pool, which is now the little laundry building attached to Petty Gym, and it's part storage area for SAT desks. In the spring, I ended up on the track team after I got cut from the tennis team. In my defense, there was only one girls' tennis team because girls were relative newcomers to the student body. Sports soon became something that I thought of as part of a daily routine. I often brag, albeit tongue-in-cheek, about the track record I hold that will never be broken. I have the fastest 110-yard low hurdle record. Of course, this is only because I ran track during the last year that races were measured in yards and not in meters. I took my newfound appreciation for fitness to college. The summer before my freshman year, I trained during the summer in order to try out for the field hockey team. My training involved running 2 miles every other day. I'm not kidding, in 1981, this was what I thought working hard meant. It was more than I thought myself capable of, and honestly, I was pushing myself. During field hockey tryouts, I proudly told the coach I could run 2 miles in 16 minutes. I didn't make the team due to lack of stick skills, but the training during the summer was my introduction to running. I ran to keep fit in college, but never felt that it was easy or that it came naturally to me. I felt a bit like a fronter. I also swam in college during my sophomore and senior years. I was never fast, but Westminster gave me the confidence to pursue sports, whether I was a relative beginner or had some experience. Luckily for me, I outgrew my asthma as I began the next stage of life. As a young teacher at Westminster, I continued to try out sports that were new to me as an adult. While still fresh out of college, I vowed to tackle my fear of being underwater, a fear which arose because I can't hold my breath that long. I tried slalom kayaking, a sport which was practiced on the Farmington River just down in the rapids a few miles away, and one in which my brother and father were fully invested. I practiced rolling in the old pool until I was confident enough to try it in whitewater. Unfortunately for me, just about every time I hit a hole, I flipped over, I couldn't right my boat, I had to pull my spray skirt and swim away from the boat. I really did try, but I was not cut out to be a slalom kayaker. I focused on other pursuits. I trained to be a lacrosse referee, I took tennis lessons, and I learned to skate with Mr. Dixon. This led to official coaching duties over the years that have included field hockey, swimming, lacrosse, hockey, and yes, finally, tennis. Last spring, Mr. Decanter remarked that 5 sports was a pretty good number to have coached at Westminster, and it is even higher than his total. However, I think he forgot that I have also coached cross country. I travel off campus with the team on Mondays, and he never sees me as I give advice on the trail. He's ahead of me, he's a little bit faster than I am. So I'm going to do that now. Emmett and Elena, could you guys stand up for a minute? Okay, so jog up towards me, right up the stairs. Okay. Elena, you need to keep your shoulders down a little bit and your arms striding forward, not across. Emmett, you need to be lighter on your toes and just lean into the hill a little bit. Okay, so thank you for that practice. Okay, check. Coaching duty number 6 was a complete success. The years flew by, and through it all, I swam and ran on a regular basis. I truly enjoy swimming, and part of it is because I enjoy a certain amount of sensory deprivation when my head is underwater. I often feel like I am by myself, even when I am not alone. Running, however, is another story. Initially, I ran only because I knew that women had to build up maximum bone density through their 20s, and to do this, you need to be involved in an impact sport. At one point, I thought that a bike, swim, run triathlon might be a good way to meld these two interests. So I signed up for a little triathlon in Farmington, which took place in and around Batterson Park Pond. When the starting gun went off, I ran into the water, put my head down to swim, and promptly had a panic attack. Having opened my eyes underwater, it was pitch black. When you're used to looking at the bottom of a blue pool, the lack of visual clues is eerie. I started to tread water, hyperventilating, needing to control my breath. It took me several minutes to calm down and move on. I frequently replay this experience in my mind and have worked to get over my fear of open water swimming. So this August, I felt it was ready to try again, and I joined a bike, swim, hike New Hampshire triathlon team with my college friends. I practiced swimming in the pool by closing my eyes when I looked down and only opening them when I lifted my head for a breath. I felt confident leading up to the day of the race, but the weather was not very cooperative. Liza will read an excerpt from a blog posted the day after the race.
The clouds that had been drifting across Canyon Mountain all morning started dripping rain as the spectators stood near the summit. Peering downhill into the fog, the weather this year was the worst it's ever been for the top-notch triathlon. A stiff headwind met racers as they set off on bikes. The same wind whipped whitecaps across the surface of Echo Lake as swimmers stroked their way through the chilly water. Now, the high-elevation rain showers were threatening to evolve into a full-fledged downpour.
I was the swim leg, which was the second portion of the race. My teammate came into the transition area on the bike. I put on the chip and set off into the lake. I had pre-race nerves, which I think everyone has before an event, so my heart was beating faster than usual, giving me a shaky feeling. I hopped in the water, took a few strokes with my eyes closed, and turned my head for a breath. Instead of air, water choked me, and the panic came on full force. The wind was blowing the water hard toward me, so anytime I put my head up to see where I was going or turned to the side to take a breath, water blew into my mouth. My heart was racing and I was gulping for air, but I knew I had to keep moving forward. I started to do the backstroke since that drove the waves over the top of my head and not into my mouth, but I knew I couldn't swim a half a mile like that. I kept trying to turn over to do freestyle and finally managed to calm myself enough to swim, rather awkwardly, from buoy to buoy. I had to fight my muscle memory and not breathe when I turned my head, but rather lift my head in an exaggerated fashion, far from the surface of the water. It was a humbling experience. I have considered myself primarily a swimmer and a little reluctant runner, but lately I find myself more excited to participate in running races. As I implied before, running has always been more of a chore for me. I didn't even know that I actually liked running until I was not able to do it. 2 years ago, during the Martlet Mush, I was running in the woods and trying to get a big lead on the group of girls from second field hockey. I looked up from the path in order to assess the competition, and as I stepped on a big root, my foot rolled over and I heard a pop. I hobbled to a point where Miss Tarleglio could pick me up, and students wouldn't sit with me because my ankle was blowing up so fast it was gross. It was broken. I could not run or swim for over 2 months. Of course, it was during this time that I realized how important these activities were to me. I'm getting slower every year, but that isn't as important to me anymore. The fact that I can participate makes me happy. At the beginning of this month, I achieved second place for fundraising efforts for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life 5K. Their motto is, "It's not how fast you go, it's the difference you make." You all have the potential to make a difference. It begins with an activity of your choosing, but it has to be one that will stretch you. I encourage all of you to make a difference by participating in Westminster's first annual Hope on the Hill, an event organized by Mr. and Mrs. Curtis that will take place this coming spring. I challenge all of the new students to try to think of something that will be hard, and I encourage everyone to take a risk, take a chance, and make a change. Try something new during your time on Williams Hill. You might not end up being the best at something, but you will know in your heart that you never backed away from a challenge.